Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Tate. I'm the General Manager with the Southern Georgian Bay Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this meeting will be recorded and we'll be sending it out via social media. With Jenna on our line here, she sends everything out on social media. So please follow us on Facebook and Instagram and make sure you're comfortable with a recorded meeting. So as you know, the meeting is going to focus on wholesale products available at one of our wonderful members, Farm2Door. And Bart Nagel is on the line with us. He's the owner and founder of Farm2Door, as well as Bulbs of Fire Garlic. And we're also just waiting for another special guest, Melanie Robinson. She's also known as Chef Mel. She's a Chopped Canada champion, so very pleased to have her coming on the line. She's also the owner of Eclectic Cafe and Melanie Robinson Catering in Aurelia. So Melanie actively sources locally, and she's going to share some of her experiences and her challenges as well as opportunities. So some pretty great experience there to share, and everything from her restaurant to her catering business. So we're looking forward to having Melanie on the line as well. So the format is going to be a relatively short meeting. Bart is going to do a short presentation followed by Melanie, and then there'll be some time for questions and answers. So we're probably going to be wrapped up within half an hour. So with all that said, Bart, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you for joining us today and for providing this information on the very important topic of sourcing locally and what you have to offer at Farm2Door. So I'll hand it over to you, and we'll wait for Melanie as well.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, I want to quickly start off with the backstory of Farm2Door. I think that would put everything within the context of what we're trying to do. When Farm2Door started, we actually came together with a couple of farmers to come up with a plan to combat the lockdowns, the problems that the COVID lockdowns had caused for us. If I look at my garlic farm business at the time, which is a fall planted crop, I had 2 fields full of garlic. And basically nowhere to go. The one of kind show, one of the bigger shows that I did every year, twice a year, had canceled. The wholesale accounts that carried our specialty products were being had to close down, and we're not ordering. And at the time, even in, we're talking March 2020, the farmers markets weren't gonna reopen. So yeah, there was basically a connection problem. We were cut off from our customer base, and the future looked very bleak. Hey, Mel. So that's kind of the backstory of Farm2Door. I came together with another farmer, Yvan Maurice. Together we started this venture. Came up with this concept of an online farmers market that delivers, and 3 weeks later we had this thing online with about 12 vendors, local vendors, mostly people that I knew from the farmers market circuit, and it took off like a rocket. So we were pleasantly surprised by the incredible demand of local food in our area, whereas I've been in this local food marketplace for about a decade now with Bulbs of Fire, doing the Pinnatang Midland market, and then slowly branched out to Muskoka, GTA area. And I've always wondered why our area in specific was not showing the demand for local that other places were. I've also done the Aurelia market for many years. Aurelia being only slightly bigger than Midland, I think, in population, but it was a total different vibe and appreciation, and Mel can consider her lucky to operate in that area. But COVID changed a lot. It showcased the demand and a hunger for local that we never knew was there, and this concept Farm2Door basically was an overnight proven concept. I remember the very first day we opened up. Usually businesses start off with a trickle and swell and grow with people spreading the word. With Farm2Door, it was almost reverse. The very first day we opened our digital doors, it was basically, you're looking at the back end of a web store was like a slot machine, with orders coming in at a very rapid pace. And it was very exciting. No, there were a lot of ups and downs, but definitely the Farm2Door was built to connect local food suppliers with local food buyers. And since a lot of people had to stay home, people were shopping online all the time, this business grew and grew and grew. Late summer 2020, we added our retail store, the business grew and grew. Now, like with any farmers market, what happened to Farm2Door is it's interesting. It starts off with a lot of fresh veg, and the offering slowly grows. What you see in a farmers market too, there are many different other suppliers, like let's say non-farmer suppliers, and typically there's a lot of demand for that stuff too, because there's a trend in society where people want convenience, and generally speaking, they would much rather buy a reheat prepared dish than a bunch of vegetable and start from scratch. So we've seen the business grow tremendously for products, prepared food products that are ready to go. Simply slap it in the oven for an hour, or whatever the instructions say, and food is on the table. So the love for local has grown tremendously during COVID, but we found, if we looked at the business about two years later, that the business case for the farmers themselves didn't really grow accordingly. And I think for coming from a farmer background, the business case for a sustainable local food marketplace in a specific area, that's where it all starts. Like, if the stuff is not grown here anymore, basically all we do is rely on large supply chain and California grown stuff that's grown solely for the purpose to ripen during travel, and has just a fraction of the nutrients and flavor that fresh stuff has. Local food has the the quality and the opportunity in itself to make an area exceptionally special, yet it's not embraced enough, and this is kind of why we were set on this mission to start offering local vegetables to restaurants. When I started reaching out about this project, there was a lot of enthusiasm within a handful of restaurants locally. I also reached out to Simcoe County Tourism, and they were incredibly enthusiastic, basically because they've done much legwork in the past to see if this could happen, where local restaurants would tap into more local sourcing, for all the reasons I just mentioned. And the main objection at the time that was pitched was like, look, restaurateurs don't have the time to order from all these different farmers, while it being more pricey and it being a more unreliable source. Out of those focus groups, what came is there needs to be a local food hub, one central point where we can order, and we figured, well, that's excellent, because we're basically already that local food hub, albeit for the consumer market in North Simcoe right now. So we set out to do this. I've been sending emails every Monday for the last 4 weeks, and orders are just trickling in. The uptake cake is not what I expected it to be, and we're really trying to figure out what's going on and how to give it a boost that it deserves. So I reached out to Kathy to see if we can get together online with a bunch of local restaurants to basically talk about this. Right after I reached out to Melanie. Melanie and I have worked in the past a bunch of times. She's cooked the Bulbs of Fire garlic dinner. She's an exceptional chef that has a heart for local food, and it's what she has built her restaurant and catering business on. And I would love to give her the floor right now to share her knowledge and experience about this venture and where she sees challenges and opportunities.
Thanks, Bart. Sorry I'm late. In the hustle of getting my kids breakfast this morning, I forgot my phone at home, and we all know what a lifeline our phones are now. So it's like, how do I get back on Zoom without my phone? If I had missed anybody that came in, could you just quickly introduce yourself and what you do and own, so I can kind of tailor what we're talking about?
Yeah, hi, Mel. Very nice to meet you. I'm Kathy Tate with the Southern Georgian Bay Chamber of Commerce. Bart is one of our members. And I did do a bit of an introduction on you before you were able to join. So very impressive, Chopped Canada champion. So we're very happy to have you on the call today. And this is going to be recorded as well, Mel, and will be sent out via social media and email after. We also have Jenna on the phone from the Chamber of Commerce, and the other two participants. I'll let you introduce yourselves if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Shelby. Hi, Mel. We've met before. I work with Bart and do social media and marketing.
Awesome. Nice to see you again, Shelby.
Yeah, you too.
You're on mute, Kim.
Okay, that I am. Hi. So I was a customer, like a personal customer of Farm2Door last year, and I really loved the quality. And my neighbor and I are thinking of putting together a food truck in the Palm Beach area. So I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to do that, I want to order Farm2Door again. So this is more informational for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, Palm Beach needs more than French fries, that's for sure.
That's what we're thinking.
So yeah, you know all the fancy stuff about me, but honestly, my roots started at the farmer's market in Aurelia, at the Otis Park Farmer's Market. I had started on a whim after my second child, and I decided that I didn't want to go back and work for somebody else and try and tailor my career for my life. And that meant doing the farmer's markets and catering. And so what was really amazing about the farmers markets, I had always had this passion for local with other restaurants that I had worked for, but not to the extent that I'm following through with today, because I can always see there's more opportunity and more growth for working further with our farmers. So after the farmers market, what was really amazing is walking around in the mornings and deciding what I was going to make just based on what the farmers had. And so I would just kind of go shopping at 7:30, and they'd know I'd come around, and I'd make my breakfast or my sandwich or whatever I felt like doing, just based on what the ingredients were. And of course, it always tasted the best because that's what was in season. You know, you eat in season, and that's when it tastes the most beautiful. I mean, you can use the simple example of right now, we have all these beautiful strawberries, but when you eat a strawberry in December, it tastes like crap. You know, it's just not a strawberry. Everybody knows that iconic taste of what a strawberry tastes like in season. And so that's what we're really trying to push here at Eclectic, is we switch our menus up when we're in the height of the season. I would say every 4 to 6 weeks, we like to change our menu. I would say about 60% of our menu changes over. We always have our staples for all the meat eaters, but we really like to showcase what's in season. For example, we just came through spring. We're just coming into early summer, and we had a radish dish on the menu. Well, I mean, you take a humble radish and all people think of is it's a garnish for a salad or potato salad. And it's like, how can we change this? How can we change somebody's perception of an ingredient? So we call it, Stay Rad. That's the name of our dish. We like to be punny. So our Stay Rad dish has roasted radishes with za'atar. So that's thyme and sumac and sesame seeds. When you roast a radish, it turns sweet. So it has a completely different flavor profile. Just like if you roast a daikon radish in Vietnamese cooking, it turns sweet. So it's very different. We have pickled radish and we have raw radish, and we've mixed it with quinoa and hummus and sprouts, and asparagus is also in season. So you'll see on our menu, we have the same ingredients in the season, but we use them in multiple ways. So we have an asparagus soup. We put fresh asparagus on a salad raw. We use cooked asparagus in the rad bowl. So taking that one ingredient and transforming it into different ways. And then that way it kind of educates the consumer that I've never had a roasted radish. This is amazing. And it's like, it's a vegan dish, but damn, it's good with bacon, you know? So, and how can we elevate this ingredient? So by cooking in season, you get the absolute best quality of whatever that ingredient is. You know, we're coming into strawberry season just at the end. So we'll be doing something with strawberries and something different, not just on a salad, but how can I incorporate this into a savory dish? We make balsamic, basil, and strawberry black pepper chutney. And then that way we can put those on our charcuterie boards. And it's a savory strawberry application instead of a sweet strawberry application. So thinking outside of the box, looking the ingredient and, you know, trying to make it something other than what people are anticipating, I think is really important for us. You know, I have been working with Bart for a couple of years now, and we, you know, he's like, we had gone as a consumer the first year. And then of course there was a lot of wine. And at the end of the night, he hooked me and he's like, you're cooking my dinner next year. And I'm like, okay. But I was drinking and I was like, wait a minute, how am I going to do this? And it came down to the dessert. And I said, what's unexpected? Like, he had done the black garlic with chocolate. It marries very well together because it's very rich, molasses sweet. So the dark chocolate plays off really well. And I said, what about doing roasted garlic creme brulee? And he's like, what? Garlic and creme brulee? I'm like, why not? When you roast garlic, it's sweet. And it has that, you know, that sweetness behind the garlic, and it's not strong and pungent. And so that's unexpected to somebody. And so when we made 80 of them, it was great, because at the end of the night, people were like, I wasn't expecting this, and this is delicious. And so from that dinner, that is now a signature dessert that we put on our Christmas holiday menu. And so people, again, are still enjoying that roasted garlic creme brulee. But it's taking a simple ingredient and turning it into something else. And I think that's really important, and to be creative with it. You know, opening the business, I was like, I am going to support farmers. The majority of my produce will come from farmers when in season, or if it's not in season, how can I take that peak season and keep it going throughout the winter, either canning, freezing, pickling, and still using that ingredient further down the road and showing people what, again, it can be transformed into. But it's not easy. And I had worked with, I think, 3 farms in the beginning. 50-acre garden is one in Aurelia, and they're just off Horseshoe Valley Road. But I would sit down with them in February and we would do a pre-planning of their garden. And so it's not just, I need carrots, who has carrots? It's investing in those relationships with the farmers and actually taking the time to communicate what you plan on doing and what they can grow for you. And then there's interesting conversations that happen when you take that time, because like, oh, I have this purple bok choy that I really want to try. Would you be interested in that? I said, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. Again, it depends on the season. Do we have a rainy season? Do we have a dry season? Are things late? Are things early? Did it get too hot? So, I mean, as a chef that understands the farming life, you have to be a little bit lenient with what your expectation is. You can't just say, you know, I want greens and I want them to show up on this date, because that's not going to happen majority of the time. We've been working with an aquaponic or aquatic grower. And so he's using a trout tank to fertilize his farming. Well, he had to completely re-clean it and take everything apart. So he would supply us fresh greens all winter long, just with his aquatic farming system. And I would have customers be like, these greens taste like they were just picked. I said, well, they just were. And it's in Severn. And so they're like, wow, this is amazing. And I said, yeah, I mean, if you think outside of the box, we can still have things grow. I think, Bart had spoke about COVID, and I think one of the most beautiful things that came out of COVID was the fact that people were sourcing local, they were reaching out to their farmers, and people were actually cooking again. And so that was really beautiful. That's the one positive thing in the culinary industry, I could say, that really spoke to me, was the fact that people were reaching out to me and, well, I want to get local chicken. Where do I get local chicken? I said, well, you can go to the Kitchen Garden Farm. You can go to Integrated Farm. They also have pork, beef, eggs. And where else can I get this? Well, you can go here, and you can get your mushrooms, and you can get, maple syrup and other pork products. And I feel like I've locally become this like information kiosk of local farmers, which I love. And I just constantly encourage people to keep sourcing out those local people. And I think the Farm2Door model is really awesome because it takes out that legwork that I've put in over the last 5 years. And Bart has now acquired all these amazing farmers, which I use still, like Pay Dirt Farm with Wolf and Lita. They supply a lot of produce to Bart at Farm2Door, and she comes in with 100-pound bags of carrots for me when I'm like, I need carrots for Thanksgiving, and she's like, okay. So it's these relationships, I think, that are the most important. And the other thing that comes from these relationships and these connections is most farmers have the CSA program, right? The community supported agriculture, where they can pick up farm to gate. Well, they're going to tell their customers that, well, I also supply to Eclectic Cafe, or I supply to Farm2Door. So now those people are walking in with their community dollars to spend here because they know that I'm sourcing from the farmer that they use or other farmers in the local region. And it's again about building those relationships so we can all tie together and use those social media channels to come together and showcase each other. Because when you work together, I mean, amazing things can happen. When you work in a singular mindset, then you're just fighting yourself. On our menu, I actually post like, these are all the farms that we use on a regular basis. And so when my customer comes in, they can see, well, my greens came from 50 Acre, and the honey they use is from Lavender Hills, and the syrup they use is from the Roost Farm, Kitchen Garden Farm, East Oro Berry Farm. We just found another little farm out by me. It's 10 minutes from me. And so we're going to start using them, called the Tasty Berry. But there's so many options, and there's so many ways to find these people. And again, when you think about the consumer, they are lazy. They want the work done for them. And so a place like Farm2Door, where they can go in and it's a one-stop shop, they can feel good about knowing that their dollars are going back to that farmer. It makes them feel really good. I mean, we should have this kind of model everywhere, which I know Bart is, an amazing entrepreneur, and I'm sure he'll have them all over Simcoe County eventually. But we tried to start one here in Aurelia at the beginning of it. And I actually, because our cafe wasn't open, I had said, use our dining room as a place to store, anything that you need that's dry. And we were using our fridge, and it was just, again, a way. I didn't want anything from it. I just wanted the availability of that local produce to go back to the consumer. And it might start up again here soon. We'll see. But I think, there's people, when it comes down to it, are lazy and they want it all done for them. And when you have prepared foods or washed greens or things ready to go in the fridge, it's just, it's not a second thought. They just know that they're shopping there. Everything's there. Everything's local, and it's pretty amazing. It does take work, from my perspective and where I've built our relationships with our farmers and our producers. It takes a lot of work. I'm really proud of what we've done because nobody else in Simcoe County does what I do. And I'm really proud about that. And our team is proud about that. And, the customers have now realized that if they came and had a dish in November, it won't be on the dish in August because it's just not how we should eat. And so for me, it's a little bit of forced education for the customer as well, and helping them learn, what grows, when it grows, and who we get it from. So having something like Farm2Door and moving something like that further into the rest of Simcoe County, I think is a really great idea.
Hey, Melanie.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the price point of local versus if you look at your restaurant operation? Do you feel it as an objection, tremendous problem, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, like I think because it's such in the forefront of who we are as a restaurant and a caterer that people never complain about the price. For us, if we can specifically say that your dollars are going back to these people, they can like, there's a face to that money. It's not just a big corporation and they're like, well, you know, it's just, you know, the government getting the money again. It's like, no, that's not the case. Like, and I could list everybody's name, but it's like, no, the money's going back to these people. And people come in here and we are a little bit of a higher price point for lunch. I mean, it's still not unrealistic, like $17 to get a bowl. Our sandwiches range from $14.50 to $17 based on what protein is on there. But I think people, for me, have really understood what we do here and why the prices are where they are. Our salads are $14, you know, and I think when people understand, I mean, and then again, with inflation, we're probably going to have to raise the prices again next menu, but people know the quality of food that they're getting when they come here. They understand where the food's coming from and they want to support those people. So if you incorporate that into your message and your story, people are more likely to gravitate towards that and want to support that as opposed to McDonald's. And that's the, you know, you go through McDonald's drive-thru and you're going to spend $14 on a meal. Well, our salad is $14 and it's full of good, healthy stuff and everything's been made here. And so you can either go $14 and get crap. You can have $14 and have something really healthy and beneficial. And I use that McDonald's analogy a lot because nobody ever barks at paying the price for a McDonald's meal. They just know that's what it is. And so the same thing goes here. You know, this is what our prices are. And I don't think they're unreasonable at all. I think if anything, they're under. But yeah, as for pricing, I've never had an issue with it. I think there was one moment a customer had said that it was a little bit on the higher side, to which I gladly explained, well, you would pay the same price at McDonald's for sugar, carbs, and fat. And so I kindly say, maybe we're not for you. But that's the thing, right? I mean, we have a really great community. Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
So in terms of like buying the produce and things like that from local farmers, so you're saying it's a little bit more than, let's say, if you order from, you know, somewhere else.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, you know, I never barter with my farmers. Their price is their price because I know how much work it takes to go through the process. Mm-hmm. I never ever barter with them, and I just incorporate it into my prices. And again, if you're doing a food truck and you say, like, you know, carrots from Pay Dirt Farm or lettuce from wherever, people are being like, oh wow, like you actually took the time to source these products.
Yeah, no, I come from a sustainability background. Like I work in that, like, you know, for my professional work. So you know, the carbon footprints, the, you know, sustainable agriculture practices and, you know, keeping things local and keeping
dollars going back in our
all
community.
that stuff. Yeah. You know, like I buy it, I believe it. Right. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mel, can I say that? Sorry, I was just going to say, Mel, your passion and your enthusiasm, I think, is infectious. And I think it's there's definitely an appetite, as you say, pun intended, for people to know where their food's coming from, especially, and I agree with you, over the last couple of years during COVID, people hunkered down at home, right, with their families, and they remembered what was important, and they paid more attention to what was going into, you know, their meals and that type of thing. So I think the story behind it, you know, is so important to tell your customers where this food is coming from, and maybe their friends or family or neighbors, you know, and it means so much more, I think, than perhaps $1 or $2 that they might be paying extra. So
yeah,
kudos to you and to Bart as well for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And when something is so cheap, somebody's paying the price along the way, right? So
Absolutely.
there, yeah.
You know, like during the pandemic, everybody was panicking because there was going to be this like massive food shortage because of this huge, large scale farming and all of our immigrant workers coming to Canada who were bunking and they were getting COVID, and then the food production was suffering. It's like, there's a better way. There's a better way than that. And if you just stay local and you look at what you have in your area, it's still good. And you don't have to worry about, you know, this large scale production where they may not treat their workers as well. And they, you know, come up here for 6 months and they're killing themselves just to go back to their families to make $1. And I think I was really mad about it when I had seen it in the papers, and I had reached out to, the new farm. And I said, you know what, all these restaurant workers who don't have a job right now, can we not put them towards working in a farm? Because we're passionate about food and passionate about cooking. Can we not just relocate them for a little bit so things like keep moving and production keeps growing? So that was really interesting for me. You know, I was just like, I think people need to see on a bigger scale where food production comes from and where it can change.
Yeah. I know.
Anybody have any more questions?
I was just thinking from a marketing perspective, you know, my wheels are going around, and I almost want to get these farmers on video saying, you know, what it means to them to have this local support from local restaurants, and why their product, you know, is more organic, or, you know, why it's better for their, you know, your family to eat this straight off the vine, or, you know, right out of the ground kind of thing. So that's where my mind's going from a marketing perspective.
Absolutely.
Well, there's sorry, Mel.
I've wanted to do that on our website forever. And I wanted to start like a little web series of all the farms around in the area and what they do and what they offer. And I just clearly don't have the time, but I've wanted that forever. Yeah.
There's quite a bit of research done on the amount of extra nutrients that fresh local produce holds, simply because it doesn't travel the distance that, you know, all the stuff that's in the grocery store does, or it comes through the food terminal in Toronto. And it typically, even if you're looking at from 3 to 7 days after harvest, you're looking at a nutrient loss of 35 to 55% in most vegetables, excluding most root crops actually, but definitely goes for all the leafy greens and the fruits. So that means that the stuff lined up quickly, short after harvest, coming on your plate the day after, or you know, the very same day, feeds your body about, you know, 40% on average more. And the same goes for the flavor that gets lost with it. So I think restaurateurs should pay attention, because like you can taste the difference. Apart from that, a point I wanted to make, in addition from a farmer's perspective, if you understand the growing season that we're in right here, it's a northern region. Our growing season is late, it's short, and I think if you believe in local and community support, then right when the restaurants hit their peak season, you know, the summer months, they should throw as much as they possibly can at these local farmers to help them get through this season. The main challenge for a farmer is, and you know, I from an income point of view, I've welcomed Farm2Door as a business to our personal finance situation, because it's much more stable. Is that as a farmer, we have to make our year's worth of money in basically about 3 or 4 months of the season, and it's a hard goal. Then, you know, the restaurants can use that sourcing as a powerful marketing tool. And I think Melanie didn't explicitly say it, but she does hint at the fact that when you use the farmer story, you do get away with a higher price. When you put higher prices on your menu and you explain that with quality, you attract a higher end clientele.
Yes,
Right, and I notice obviously we played the very same game with Bob's of Fire. We did garlic dinners. We have these high end gourmet products, but with Farm to Door it's no different. Where we use those stories of those farmers. We market the S out of them all the time. So boosting their story, boosting their presence. But meanwhile, it justifies the prices that we charge with a feel-good story and knowing that you support a community member and eat the best food that's available in your area. And I think that's the main story, where if restaurants like Melanie start pushing this story forward, we kind of create a rising tide for all boats. And create an area that's becoming more and more of a food destination because of those local flavors. And this is the opportunity that I see with this Farm to Door wholesale program. And I just hope that we can get it off the ground sooner than later, with good local support across the board. I know this is getting recorded and sent out. Here locally, I have to give major props to Mega Mindful Living, because they have hopped on without any questions. And obviously it's a vegan focused cafe where veg is left front and center and where it shines always. So very grateful for that partnership, and we'll hope to bring a few more on board in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you so much. Really, really interesting stuff. And to me, it's almost the difference between just eating for sustenance reasons and kind of a culinary experience where you're paying attention locally and supporting locally, as well as the nutrients that are going into your body, right? So anyway, yes, this has been recorded. We'll be sending it out via social media and email. Bart, for anybody who's interested in getting in touch with you, they would simply go to your website, Farm2Door.
Yes, or send me an email, bart@farm2door.ca, and we'll work it out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Really interesting, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kathy.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
Hey.
Mel.
You're welcome.